In a quiet green forest in the English countryside, there lived a young crow named Charlie. Charlie was smart, fast, and wildly curious. The kind of bird who always had a plan. But he had one enormous problem. He simply could not wait. If he spotted food, he had to have it immediately. If he wanted to fly, he launched himself off the branch before checking which way the wind blew. If anything moved too slowly, Charlie grew furious. The older birds of the forest tried their best to guide him. "Good things take time," said Oliver, the wise old owl, blinking slowly from his oak branch. "Patience makes you stronger," said Thomas, the calm old tortoise, who never seemed to be in a hurry about anything. Charlie only laughed at both of them. "Why wait?" he called back cheerfully, "when I can act fast and get what I want right now." One hot summer afternoon, Charlie spotted a farmer spreading fresh, golden seeds across the meadow just beyond the forest edge. "Lunch!" he shouted, his eyes gleaming. But the farmer was still there, strolling slowly up and down the rows. The other birds perched quietly on a branch above, watching with patience. "Let's wait until he leaves," whispered a small sparrow named Pip. But Charlie was already flapping his wings. He swooped down low, landed boldly on the dirt, and began pecking eagerly at the scattered seeds. Suddenly, clap! The farmer bellowed and sprinted toward him, waving both arms wildly overhead. Charlie panicked immediately. He shot upward and flew away as fast as his wings could carry him, heart hammering against his ribs. When he finally dared to look back from the safety of the treetops, he saw Pip and the other birds calmly landing in the meadow, now peacefully eating every last seed now that the farmer had walked back inside. Charlie sat on a branch, feeling very embarrassed and very hungry. "If I had waited just a little while," he thought quietly, "I could have eaten without any trouble." But as embarrassing as it was, the lesson did not quite stick. A few days later, Charlie spotted something even more exciting. A big, thick slice of white bread floating lazily on the surface of the village pond. Charlie absolutely loved bread. Without thinking for even 1 second, he swooped down and stretched out his talons to grab it. But the bread was drifting too far from the bank. Charlie leaned further and further over the water, then lost his balance completely. Splash! He tumbled straight into the cold pond. His feathers soaked up water immediately, making his wings heavy and clumsy. He splashed and struggled until he finally dragged himself out, collapsing onto a flat stone, exhausted and shaking. Nearby, a tall grey heron named Henry was standing perfectly still in the shallows, exactly as he had been for the past 10 minutes. "I noticed that bread floating in from the other side," Henry said quietly, without even turning his head. "I simply waited for it to drift closer. And now..." He leaned forward effortlessly and plucked the bread from the water with one smooth, easy motion. No trouble at all. Charlie stared at him from the rock, dripping and miserable. Waiting would have helped again. The thought settled deep inside him, but it still was not quite enough to change his ways. Then one evening, after a very long and unsuccessful day of searching for food, Charlie was absolutely starving. He had flown over fields, ponds, gardens, and rooftops, finding nothing at all. Just when he was ready to give up entirely, he spotted a beautiful mango tree at the edge of a cottage garden, its branches heavy with fruit. His heart leapt. but the mangoes were hard and green and completely unripe. "They will be perfectly sweet and juicy in a few days," said a cheerful green parrot named Grace, sitting comfortably on the lowest branch. "You only need to wait." Charlie was so hungry that waiting felt utterly impossible. His stomach ached. But then, all at once, everything came flooding back. The frantic escape from the farmer's field, the cold, embarrassing splash into the pond, the heron calmly collecting his bread. He took a slow, deep breath. "All right," he said softly. "I will wait." And so he did. It was not easy, not even slightly. Each morning Charlie returned to the tree and looked at the mangoes, still green. Each afternoon he felt the hunger gnawing at him. Each evening he wondered whether he should simply give up. But he stayed. He watched the sun rise warmly over the cottage roof and sink again behind the hills. He watched the breeze move gently through the leaves. He watched other birds come and go without comment. He simply waited. And slowly, quietly, something remarkable changed inside him. He felt calmer. He felt steadier. He felt strangely and wonderfully stronger. Then one bright morning, the air near the mango tree smelled sweet and warm and golden. The mangoes had turned a brilliant deep yellow overnight. Charlie landed gently and pecked at one, soft, juicy, perfectly, gloriously sweet. It was the most delicious thing he had ever tasted. He ate slowly, enjoying every single bite. There was no fear, no rushing, no regret, only pure and peaceful joy. From that morning on, Charlie was a different bird entirely. When he spotted food, he took a moment to watch and think first. When he wanted something badly, he made himself wait. When life felt slow and frustrating, he breathed deeply and stayed calm. The other young birds of the forest began to notice the change in him and gathered around with curious eyes. "How did you get so wise?" asked little Pip the sparrow one afternoon. Charlie smiled warmly and looked out across the quiet green forest he had always called home. "I learned," he said simply, "that waiting is not wasting time. It is how you earn something worth having."